Okay, this is John with Tennessee Amp, and I am going to show you how to put some tilt back legs on a Fender amp and how to figure out what size of legs you need and how to install them so you don't screw it up and they're not all different angle or anything like that. There's really no good instructions, from Fender on how to do this. But there is some good instructions on Bill McCrone's site how to do Blues Junior, and I've kind of adapted that to figure out how to do it on other Fender amps. First thing you have to do is figure out how long the legs have to be. What size legs should you buy depending on how big your amp is. Now what you want is from the bottom of the amp to the bottom of the legs, you want maybe about 3/4 of an inch or so, maybe an inch. And from the top here, you want maybe an inch. You could maybe stand it to be a 1/2 inch or something like that, but it ought to be at least a 1/2 inch. So you want a 1/2 inch here, you want 3/4 of an inch here, you want about 1.25 inches. You want about whatever this dimension is, take that dimension minus 1.25 inches, and that's the maximum size of legs you can use. This cabinet here, when I measure it here, from top to bottom, not from the floor, but right where the bottom of the cabinet is, I've got about 17 3/4 inches. So 17 3/4 minus 1.25 inches, 16.5. So I can, 16.5 is bigger than 16, which is the size of these legs. So these will work. It gives me 3/4 and a little bit more than 3/4, about an inch over here. So, again, whatever size cabinet you got, you can only stand to have legs as long as this minus about 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches. But you want to pick as long a legs as you can have. Okay. What you want to do is you're going to drill a hole here, a 3/16 inch hole for this pivot bolt. The leg goes like that. You got to figure out where to drill it. It's 1.75 inches from the back here. Like if I put something flat across the back and you measure 1.75 inches, and it's going to be, now you're going to take and go from the floor over here. And what you're gonna do is I'm gonna take and put this, since I want 3/4, and then I've got a 3/4 inch thick foot here. That means my bottom of my leg's gonna be 1.5 inches off of the table. I've got a nice flat surface here. This is my table saw, nice and flat. You can put it on a counter or something. So you've got 1.5 inches up to the bottom of the leg, and then from the bottom of the leg on a 16-inch leg, you got 13 inches up to where this pivot bolt's going to be. So you got, for a 16-inch leg, you got 1.5 inches plus this 13 inches will give you 14.5. What you're going to do is on both sides of the cabinet, you're going to measure up 14.5 off your flat surface for a 16-inch leg. For any other dimension of leg, you're just going to take 1.5 inches plus whatever the dimension is you measured on your legs. And so we got 14.5. It's 1.75 inches. Use an awl, something nice and sharp, to measure exactly where it is. Measure it back and forth a few times and figure out exactly where it is. Poke you a hole in there, and then get you a drill bit that's got a little bit of a pilot point on it, and drill your hole straight through there. Doesn't have to be super exact, but it has to be as good as you can get. So again, 1.75 inches, and then whatever you've got here to make your 3/4 to the bottom of the thing. Okay. Now, at this point, what you're gonna, the next thing you've got to figure out, you take and you put your screw on here. Screw, the leg, there's a washer. Goes through on the other side, there's a washer, a lock washer, and a nut. So you mount your leg on there, tighten it down nice and as tight as you can get it. It'll pivot kind of nice and easy, but it'll stay in position. Alright, next thing you got to figure out is how tilted do you want it? Most of these amps are tilted about 30 degrees. Off of the flat surface. I just happen to have a 30-degree triangle here, so if I put it flat against the back, that's sitting about there. Most of these amps, if you tilt the legs back about 45 degrees off of the back, here's a 45-degree thing. If I tilt that about 45 degrees, approximately, and let's say I had installed the legs in that position, you'll find that 45 degrees here from the back, like that, when you tilt it back, it'll usually give you a tilt back angle on the amp of about 30 degrees. This is about 31 degrees when I measure this amp here. So what we're going to do, if you want to just kind of get about a 30-degree angle on your tilt back, which is most of the Fenders are the way they come from the factory. That means again that you're going to install this leg, or you install the stops up here for the leg so that the leg will be about 45 degrees to the back. So, you drill through it, mount your leg. Next thing you got to figure is, okay, well, where do you mount this pivot? The screw. It's a screw you screw. Well, let me get over here. Let me get a drink of coffee. You want your pivot bolt, you don't want it down here. You want it as far up here as you can get it without getting it into the corner over here. The further you can get it away from there, the stronger it is against resisting bending back. So you want it to be like right about in there before that piece starts curving around. Now what am I going to do? I'm going to put it right there. Stand over here. Whoops. I'm going to check my 45 degrees again. Measure that 45. I'm blind without my glasses. Alright, 45. There you go. Okay. I'm going to take my awl here, make my little pump pump. I am going to mount this right opposite about where that the end of the stamping is, right there. You just eyeball it. It's within about a ½ inch of the end of the leg. Now, what I'm going to do is make a mark right in the center of the hole. Like that. You have to make it nice and centered. That looks good. Then what I'm going to do is recheck the angle on the leg. Excellent. And then what I've got to do is find an 1/8 inch drill bit. And I got to drill a hole right here and mount the screw. So let me find that drill bit, get right back with you. Okay, I got my 1/8 inch drill bit here. You're going to drill a little short pilot hole for the screw. And let's see, let's check this out. The screw is going to go through this thing. There's a washer in there. And then it's going to screw into the cabinet. It's only going about a ½ inch, so you only want to drill the pilot hole about 3/8 of an inch, 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch. Now I've got my hole right there. I'm going to drill it perfectly right in the center of that awl mark. Alright. Okay, nice job, Johnny. Alright. Then what am I going to do is take this piece of hardware. I got to find a screwdriver here somewhere. Okay. We've got your this bumper fitting thing with a washer in there, and you've got the screw through it, and you're gonna screw it in that hole. Back that leg off a little bit. Make sure as you screw it down that you kind of center this pivot to anchor thing. There we go. See? Ooh, nice. Now let's check and see if it came out 45 degrees. That's pretty darn close. It's within probably a half a degree. And of course, if we build it the same over there and try to build it 45 degrees, it should be that same half a degree off over here. So there we go. There's your leg. Bingo. 45 degrees. Tilt that sucker back. It gives you approximately 30 degrees. That's probably 31 to it's not 31 to 32 degrees right there. Okay. So we're going to turn this to nice cabinets, by the way, huh? Custom cabinets from Tennessee Amp Company. Okay. Here's the one on the other side. Again, it's 1.5 inches the bottom of the leg, and then I mounted the screw boom 1 3/4 from the back. You always, when you're measuring off the back, you always like put something here and put your ruler up against it. When you're measuring down off of the bottom of the cabinet itself, put you some flat, flat thing and measure up like that. When you're measuring right off the flat surface, of course you measure like that. Again, we've got 1.5 inches to the bottom of the leg, 14.5 to the center of the hole. And so what we're going to do is measure this. Hang on. Oh man, this thing ought to. I need to tighten this up. Tighten it up. Tighten up. Tighten up a little bit, fellas. Use a nut driver to tighten it from the other. Don't use a screwdriver to tighten it. You'll scratch the thing up. Ooh. Don't be surprised if you have to come back and tighten up your nut a little bit more later on. And don't be shy about tightening it down. Oh, nice. Okay. Now, keep that back one up there. Now, those two legs, if they're parallel, the two edges of them that are parallel lines always appear parallel in any view. So you can like look at them this way, you can tell if they're parallel. You can look at them that way, compare those two edges, line it up that way visually, this top edge with that bottom edge, boom. Check this bottom edge with that top edge, boom. Parallel lines appear parallel in any view. Okay. So let's check your 45 degrees. Man, that ain't right. That ain't even close, Johnny. Let's try it. Try measuring it. Whoop. Alright, set it at 45. Alright, set it at 45. Check it. Looks pretty parallel. Well, we'll build it at 45 here. get it down in here. Measure it from over here. Yeah, that's pretty good. Oh, see. That's perfect. So you measure 45 degrees. You're going to eyeball the location of this thing. Right opposite the end of the stamping, roughly. I am going to very carefully mark the center of that, but making sure I'm not moving the leg. Try that. Okay, that looks good. See if that leg's still in the right position. Yes. Alrighty. And then a quick 1/8 inch pilot hole. About a 1/4 inch deep, that's all you need. Alright. So somewhere around here there's a washer I'm supposed to use. There it is. Always put the washer with the finished side out. Doesn't make any difference, but it's a matter of self-respect. You know, you want to do stuff right. Alright. Grab that sucker in there. You've got this bumper thing and then the washer. Screw this screw in, make sure this thing is centered as you ease that screw in there. Don't be shy about tightening it down. Now you want to give it the all-important tilt back test-o-matic to see if all the legs are like the same angle and everything is cool. Make sure your thing doesn't feel like it's rocking on this weird angle. You put them back. How they look? Ooh, they look pretty good. Put them back, baby. Oh, see it rock slightly. Oh, see, that ain't gonna work out. Slight rockage to it. Oh, man. Oh, I see. Put this one all the way back. It's not so bad. Oh, man. Let's see. Oh, no. They're good. This one foot was in a rut over here. They're pretty close. This is about... That's clearing the ground by about less than a 32nd of an inch. So that'll work on any normal surface. That'll work. Alright. So what you're going to have to do is put your chassis back in there. See, hopefully your leg does not interfere with your chassis bolt there. Put your chassis bolts back in, put your chassis in, you're ready to go. Have fun.